Welcome to Voyage Daily Tech, the most important news personalized for you every day, supported by Voyage.com.
Today we're sharing 5 stories. First, how Chinese automakers like XPeng are challenging European giants like BMW on their home turf with tech-packed EVs for under $17,000. Second, Albania appointed an I named Diella to its government cabinet to end corruption, but experts warn this could create new forms of algorithmic corruption. Third, stablecoin giant Tether hired former White House advisor Bo Hines to launch a new regulated token, USAT, in a direct challenge to its main competitor, Circle. Fourth, Opendoor's new chairman, Keith Rabois, announced a plan to fire 85% of staff, blaming remote work, a move that sent the stock soaring 78% in one day. And fifth, Apple's ultra-thin iPhone Air launch is indefinitely postponed in China after its eSIM-only design hit a regulatory wall with carriers like China Mobile. In the heartland of Europe's auto industry, a shockwave just hit. At one of the world's biggest car shows in Germany, it wasn't the local giants stealing the show, it was their Chinese rivals, looking to outshine Europe's biggest brands on their own home turf. What's so stunning is the sheer speed and scale of the shift. This isn't just a few new models, it's a full-on strategic push backed by an entire industrial ecosystem. And they're not just showing up, they're setting bombshell targets. One Chinese automaker, Guangzhou Automobile Group, or GAC, aims to boost its European sales from 3,000 cars this year to at least 50,000 by 2027. That's a nearly 17-fold increase. This pivot highlights a massive strategic vulnerability for Europe. And to be clear, this isn't just about assembling cars. Chinese companies have invested heavily to control the entire electric vehicle supply chain, from processing over one half the world's lithium for batteries to building massive component factories in places like Morocco, right on Europe's doorstep. They are building an empire, not just a dealership. This aggressive push comes as the long-reigning EV king Tesla has seen its sales decline in the region. Meanwhile, the market share for Chinese car brands in Europe has nearly doubled in the first half of the year. So how are they doing it? 2 words: price and technology. Let's focus on the technology part for a moment because it's where the real battle is being fought. We're talking about a fundamental difference in philosophy. Chinese EV makers have adopted a tech-first approach, treating their cars like rolling smartphones or digital platforms. XPeng announced it's bringing its mass-market monobrand to Europe with cars that start at the equivalent of just under $17,000. And they're positioning themselves as tech companies, not just car makers. What's easy to miss is that because they treat the car as a software platform, they can develop new models in as little as 18 to 24 months. Compare that to the 5+ years it often takes Western automakers, who are still stuck in a world where hardware and software teams are separate. This speed allows for constant innovation with AI-powered driver assistance and seamless over-the-air updates that legacy car makers struggle to match. We're talking flashy interfaces, voice assistants, and even in-car refrigerators and massage seats to lure buyers. But here's a fascinating question. Is this what European buyers actually want? Research suggests there could be a cultural misstep here. While these high-tech features are hugely popular in China, European consumers have traditionally prioritized driving dynamics, reliability, and a more minimalist design. So it remains to be seen if a built-in fridge is a true competitive advantage or just a novelty that misses the mark. Of course, the legacy European automakers are pushing back. Volkswagen, BMW, and Mercedes all had massive displays flexing their brand power. But the question is, are they moving fast enough? One expert put it bluntly, saying a commitment to legacy structures has left one major German brand behind fast-moving rivals. The takeaway here isn't just about moving faster, it's about a fundamental shift in thinking. That commitment to legacy structures means their development processes are siloed. The engine team doesn't talk enough to the software team, and the whole process is slow and sequential. Chinese rivals, born in the digital age, are integrated from day one. While European CEOs say they welcome the competition, the Chinese offensive is relentless. And it's not just a sales offensive. These cars are also massive data collection devices. This creates a huge challenge for Chinese brands entering Europe, as they have to comply with the continent's strict GDPR data privacy laws. It's a complex web of rules about where driver data can be stored and processed, especially when a company's data infrastructure might be based back in China. This is a hurdle they absolutely must clear to win long-term trust. The CEO of XPeng said their global growth is already faster than we have expected. And as one analyst warned, the Chinese surely are not waiting for anyone to catch up and are making significant gains. From one disruptive technology challenging a legacy industry to another, a country just appointed an AI to its government cabinet, not a minister for artificial intelligence, but a cabinet member that is an AI. Meet Diella. She's Albania's new symbolic minister, and her job description is an absolute bombshell: to make public tenders 100% free of corruption. Prime Minister Edi Rama says her role is to wipe out every potential influence on public biddings. So how does an AI even do that? Well, under the hood, it's not a magic box, but a powerful data analysis engine. It sifts through massive amounts of information, looking for patterns a human might miss. We're talking about analysing company histories, looking for suspicious bid pricing, and even using advanced techniques like natural language processing to scan contracts and emails for red flags, like unusual phrases or strange similarities between different bids. It's designed to spot the hidden fingerprints of corruption. Now, the country's constitution says ministers have to be human, so the appointment is symbolic, but don't dismiss this as just a gimmick. This AI has already processed more than 1 million government applications for citizens. However, the situation presents a fascinating duality. On one side, you have this promise of clean governance, while on the other, there's a huge catch. If you train an AI on historical data from a system known for corruption, how do you stop it from learning and repeating those same corrupt patterns? This is a massive challenge. Experts warn that this could lead to new, harder to detect forms of algorithmic corruption. This isn't just a theory. A recent audit by the Dutch government found that 6 out of 9 public algorithms failed to meet basic requirements, highlighting just how easily bias can creep in. The move has ignited a firestorm. The opposition party is calling it ridiculous and unconstitutional. What really brought this to a head, though, isn't just domestic politics. Experts say Albania's bid to join the European Union hinges on this very issue, with one specialist noting there's a lot at stake and the EU's main precondition is to address corruption. This all has major implications on the world stage. For years, the European Union has pointed to corruption in Albania as a serious concern and a major roadblock to the country joining the EU. So some international observers are asking if this is a genuine attempt at reform or a clever PR move called tech washing, using the hype around AI to signal modernisation to the EU without implementing the deep structural changes that are really needed. But the most chilling part might be the warning Prime Minister Rama just issued to his own human staff. He said the AI minister puts pressure on other members of the cabinet to run and think differently. And the subtext here is chilling, and it goes beyond just job security. A centralized AI creates a whole new world of vulnerabilities. Forget bribing a person. What if sophisticated actors try to bribe the AI itself? It's possible through a technique called data poisoning, where they intentionally feed the AI bad data during its training to manipulate its future decisions. We saw a version of this years ago when Microsoft's AI chatbot Tay was manipulated by users to produce wildly inappropriate content. Imagine that same vulnerability in a system that controls billions in public money. The message is clear, and it's not just for Albania. Ministers beware. AI could be coming for their jobs too. Speaking of the complex dance between technology and government, another major player is making a bold move to get on the inside. A company once accused of being a criminal's go-to cryptocurrency just hired a former White House advisor to lead its massive US expansion. Tether, the issuer of the world's largest stablecoin, has just appointed Bo Hines, who headed the Presidential Council of Advisors for Digital Assets, as the CEO of its new US business. This isn't just a personnel change, it's a calculated power play. However, if you zoom out, you'll see another layer of strategy at play. This is part of a much larger trend. The crypto industry has increased its lobbying spending in Washington by over 900% in the last 6 years, reaching nearly $26 million. The significance of this hire is clear. Bringing on someone like Bo Hines, who literally helped draft America's first comprehensive stablecoin legislation, gives Tether an inside track to shaping the rules of the game. It's a classic revolving door move, designed to turn a regulatory headache into a competitive advantage. For years, Tether operated on the fringes of the American financial system. Now, it's rebranding as a partner to US lawmakers. But that's not the whole picture. The real turning point is the launch of a brand new regulated token called USAT, built specifically for US institutions. This is a strategic split from its globally dominant token, USDT, which is already used by hundreds of millions of people worldwide. So the thing is, this two-tether strategy is incredibly clever. By creating a separate regulated USAT, Tether can play by America's strict rules without having to change its massive, more flexible global operation. It gets the best of both worlds. This move is also a direct challenge to its main competitor, Circle, whose USDC stablecoin built its entire brand on being fully regulated and transparent, even partnering with giants like BlackRock. Tether is now coming for that institutional market. And to address long-standing questions about what's really backing their tokens, they've brought in some serious muscle. A major Wall Street bond trading firm, Cantor Fitzgerald, is now managing a huge portion of Tether's reserves, adding a layer of traditional financial credibility that was missing for years. Tether's existing token, USDT, is already one of the largest holders of US treasuries in the world, giving it immense financial leverage. Now, with USAT, the company is doubling down on America. Tether's CEO, Paolo Arduino, says this move is a commitment to ensuring the US dollar not only remains dominant, but thrives in the digital age. And here's a bombshell from inside the government. US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent recently stated at the White House Crypto Summit, "We are going to keep the US the dominant reserve currency in the world, and we're going to use stablecoins to do that." Now, get this. There's a paradox here. The very reason USDT spread the US dollar's influence across the globe was its unregulated nature. In countries like Argentina and Turkey, people use USDT to escape collapsing local currencies and bypass strict financial controls. A tightly regulated US-centric token like USAT simply can't serve that purpose. So by embracing regulation to win over Washington, Tether might be weakening the very soft power that made the dollar so dominant in the digital grey markets in the first place. The crypto giant, once seen as an outsider, is now being welcomed as a tool for American financial dominance. This all begs the question, what is the real end game in this new alliance between crypto's biggest player and Washington? That's a huge corporate power play from Tether. But when it comes to aggressive strategy, another tech company is taking things to a whole new level. The new chairman of real estate platform Opendoor just declared he wants to fire 85% of the company. This isn't a rumor. This is a direct quote from the newly minted board chair, Keith Rabois, who said on the record, "There's 1,400 employees at Opendoor. I don't know what most of them do. We don't need more than 200 of them." The context for this move is crucial. Opendoor's whole premise is using technology to automate buying and selling homes. So, a cut this deep isn't just about saving money, it's a massive bet on automation. Here's where it gets interesting. Even with advanced algorithms for pricing, the iBuying model still relies on people for crucial steps. Human evaluators are needed to walk through homes to assess conditions, check for repairs, and spot issues an algorithm can't see. By slashing the workforce to just 200 people, the company is essentially being forced to rely almost entirely on its tech with far less human oversight. This is a high wire act, and it raises a huge question: can an algorithm truly handle the nuance of the real estate market alone? This bombshell is part of a massive leadership shakeup. Opendoor just installed a new CEO from Shopify, and its first ever CEO, Eric Wu, is returning to the board. Their stated mission? An absolute gutting of the company to stop the massive cash burn and fix what Rabois calls a broken culture. Bringing a founder like Rabois back into a powerful role is, believe it or not, a classic crisis playbook move in tech. Research from firms like Bain & Company shows that over the long run, founder-led companies in the S&P 500 have historically outperformed others by more than 3 times. Founders are often more willing to make bold, radical bets to protect their original vision, whereas a professional manager might take a more cautious, steady approach. This isn't just a leadership change, it's a signal to investors that the company is prioritizing a founder's radical vision over steady management to survive. He's blaming the company's bloat on remote work, saying, "These people were working remotely, that doesn't work. This company was founded on the principle of innovation and working together in person. We're going to return to our roots." This move is significant because we're seeing it become a new playbook for some struggling tech companies. The narrative goes like this: When performance is down, blame cultural issues like remote work to justify radical downsizing and a return to a more aggressive in-person hustle culture. It allows leaders to reassert a very specific ideology, and it's a strategy that can rally a certain type of investor. And Wall Street went wild. The announcement sent Opendoor shares soaring 78% in a single day. This is for a company described as a cash-burning, low-margin business with meager near-term growth prospects. Even more shocking, the stock is up almost 500% this year after being championed by retail investors. So what's driving that stock jump? It comes down to the brutal economics of the iBuying model. You might remember that Zillow, a much bigger company, tried it and had to shut down its Zillow Offers program after losing hundreds of millions of dollars. The profit margins are razor thin. For investors, seeing an 85% workforce reduction isn't just about cutting costs. It's seen as the only way to potentially make the flawed economics of this business model work at all. They are betting that extreme automation, even with its risks, is better than burning through cash with a large workforce. But the new chairman didn't stop at criticising remote work. He also added that Opendoor went down this DEI path, referring to diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. His final promise on the matter was simple: we're going to fix all that. The language being used here is telling. When leaders talk about getting back to merit and excellence while simultaneously dismantling DEI, it raises serious questions. After all, critics have long argued that Silicon Valley's idea of merit can be flawed. Hiring managers often rely on pattern recognition, which can lead them to favour candidates who look and think like the existing leadership, often from the same elite schools and backgrounds. This risks creating a homogenous culture where culture fit is mistaken for true merit, potentially filtering out diverse talent and innovative ideas. With a new CEO ready to start in the office on Monday and a clear mandate to slash the workforce to a skeleton crew, the question isn't just whether this will save the company, but what will be left of it when they're done. It's one thing to have a radical vision, but it's another to make it work in the real world. That brings us to our final story, where Apple just slammed the brakes on its biggest launch in years, right inside one of its most important markets. The company has indefinitely postponed the release of its new iPhone Air in China. This isn't just any phone. The iPhone Air is the first major new iPhone design since the iPhone X debuted in 2017. It's an ultra-thin 5.6mm device that was scheduled for pre-order. But as of this morning, the product page on Apple's China website simply states, "Release information will be updated later." So what's the problem? It's the very feature Apple is touting as a breakthrough. The iPhone Air is eSIM-only, with no slot for a physical SIM card. For those who aren't familiar, an eSIM, or embedded SIM, isn't a physical card at all. It's a tiny, programmable chip soldered directly onto the phone's motherboard. This means you can switch carriers or plans through software without ever needing to pop open a tray and swap out a little piece of plastic. CEO Tim Cook recently told CNBC that this design is what allows the device to have great battery life, saying, "We were able to take the battery and extend the battery to areas that previously had the physical cell. This design choice is part of a larger industry trend, sometimes called the tyranny of thin. While getting rid of the physical SIM tray does allow for a sleeker, more water-resistant phone, it comes with hidden trade-offs. A completely sealed design makes repairs much more difficult and expensive. An issue that might have been a simple SIM card swap now could require a full device replacement. The reduced internal space also creates challenges for managing heat and can even compromise the phone's long-term structural integrity. But that exact innovation is now the source of a massive headache. This is where the situation takes a more complex turn. Wireless carriers in China, including China Mobile, China Telecom, and China Unicom, need a special license from the government before they can sell a device with an eSIM. And they haven't secured that approval yet. The Chinese government is notoriously cautious about new technologies that could shift control over user connectivity. While eSIMs are actually more secure against physical theft and cloning, regulators have expressed concerns about managing a system where phone numbers can be provisioned and changed remotely. But there's another bigger reason for the delay. It's also seen as a strategic move to protect the established business models of the massive state-owned Chinese carriers who rely on the control that physical SIM cards give them. Apple's vision for a sleeker, more efficient phone has run headfirst into a regulatory brick wall. The company says it's working to make the device available as soon as possible, but for now, its highly anticipated launch is stuck in limbo. this sets up a major power struggle. When a tech giant's multi-billion-dollar product plan clashes with a nation's regulatory authority, who will be forced to bend? And while Apple is stuck, you can bet its competitors are celebrating. This creates a huge opening for local rivals like Huawei and Xiaomi to aggressively market their own devices, emphasizing their immediate availability and perhaps even framing the good old physical SIM card as a feature of reliability and user choice. This delay doesn't just halt sales, it actively gives Apple's biggest competitors a golden opportunity to capture market share.
That's it for today on Voyage Daily Tech. Follow, share, and stay tuned for daily updates coming your way tomorrow.